Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am super excited to have you here. Today, we're going to put on our global policy expert hats and dive deep into the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 8, which is all about decent work and economic growth. You know, economic growth is often called the engine that drives a nation's development. But think about it. What actually happens if that engine leaves people behind? Our main goal today is to figure out why a nation's economic engine absolutely must be driven by inclusive development. We want to sustain per capita economic growth so that everyone, not just a lucky few at the top, can actually experience a better quality of life.
Okay, let's take a super quick look at our roadmap for this explainer. We've got three main parts. First, the foundation of prosperity. Second, the twin pillars of productivity and protection. And finally, building a fairer future.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the foundation of prosperity.
To really wrap our heads around Goal 8, we have to start with one fundamental premise. Economic growth is completely broken if it doesn't respect human dignity. For the longest time, the world bought into this massive myth. The myth was that just increasing a country's gross domestic product, or GDP, automatically meant success. But the reality? True progress absolutely requires inclusive growth combined with decent work. It means that when an economy grows, equal pay for work of equal value has to be the standard rule, not some rare exception.
So, what exactly is decent work? You're going to hear this academic term a lot today. Decent work basically means employment that generates a fair, adequate income, completely protects your fundamental rights, and ensures you have a safe and secure working environment. Because economic progress isn't just about creating jobs. It's about creating good jobs that provide social protection and genuinely respect human dignity.
Moving right along to Section 2, productivity and protection.
To see exactly how Goal 8 balances a fierce, competitive economy with actually protecting people, let's unpack our first pillar, sustainable growth and innovation. To build a strong economy, we have to achieve higher levels of economic productivity. But how do we actually pull that off? Well, the target mandates that we do it through diversification and modernization. Basically, countries shouldn't put all their eggs in one basket by relying on just one industry. We need continuous technological upgrading and innovation to create entirely new ways of working.
And this actually brings us to another really important academic term, labor-intensive sectors. These are industries that require a massive amount of human physical labor. Think traditional agriculture or basic manufacturing. Goal 8 specifically targets these sectors because if we introduce technological upgrading and innovation into these highly physical jobs, we can dramatically boost productivity while making the work so much safer and more rewarding for the millions of people doing it.
Now, if we zoom out and look at the whole globe, we really need to talk about LDCs, or least developed countries. These are nations facing the most severe, deep-rooted obstacles to sustainable development. When we're talking about global economic policies, we literally can't take a one-size-fits-all approach. LDCs need our absolute most ambitious policy support and targeted international help to build their economies from the ground up.
To support those least developed countries we just talked about, the UN has set a truly ambitious metric, sustaining at least a 7% annual GDP growth. I mean, 7%, that is a massive, incredibly fast-paced level of growth. But it's absolutely necessary to help these nations catch up, drastically reduce poverty, and lay down a foundation where decent work is actually a real possibility.
Okay, but all this big-picture economic progress has to actually mean something on the ground, right? Growth has to lead directly to real-world empowerment. That's why Goal 8 mandates that we actively promote policies supporting entrepreneurship. By encouraging the creation and growth of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, we are literally putting the power of economic growth straight into the hands of local communities.
Because at the end of the day, the ultimate aim of this first pillar is full and productive employment for everyone. And I mean everyone. This means deliberately making sure that marginalized groups, especially young people just entering the workforce and persons with disabilities, are never left on the sidelines. Plus, it demands, absolutely without question, equal pay for work of equal value, no matter your gender or background.
All right, let's look at the flip side of the coin, our second pillar, protecting human rights. This is the vital counterweight to all that economic growth we just discussed. The foundational rule here is crystal clear. Economic success must never, ever come at the cost of human suffering. A wealthy economy that's built on exploitation is, frankly, a failed economy.
Target 8.7 puts up some absolute guardrails for the global economy. It demands immediate, effective measures to eradicate severe injustices like
forced labor, modern slavery, and human trafficking. Crucially, there is a strict, internationally agreed-upon deadline to end all forms of child labor by the year 2025. It's a really powerful reminder that basic human rights are non-negotiable, no matter how much profit is on the table.
So, the real takeaway from this quote in Target 8.8 is the explicit commitment to vulnerable populations. It demands a safe and secure working environment for all. But notice how it deliberately highlights protecting the rights of migrant workers? These individuals are so often the backbone of a country's economic productivity, yet they frequently end up in the most precarious, dangerous working situations. Goal 8 demands that their dignity is legally protected.
Which brings us to our final section, building a fairer future.
Achieving true, sustainable economic growth is like walking a tightrope. It requires a really delicate balance between rapid technological progress and unwavering social justice. As high schoolers gearing up for university and international careers, you are literally the future leaders and entrepreneurs of our world. So, I want to leave you with this. How will you help create a global economy that values both profit and people? Challenge yourselves to build businesses and systems that ensure decent work for absolutely everyone. Let's work together for a future of true dignity and inclusive growth. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.